Hey everybody, this is Starjump Grim. Let me know if you can hear me okay in chat. I just need someone in chat to give me the 07 that everything is sounding and looking good. I really appreciate it. Dirt Diva says, yep, got some 07s and some 5x5s. Okay, everybody, we're going to go ahead and switch over. All right. Hi, everybody. Okay, we're right off the top. You'll probably notice some camera issues when I first started streaming. Sorry about that. Thanks for bearing with me. Let's see here. Okay, yes. I had a couple people message saying, "Hey, I could hear you on stream." Yes, I had my mic turned on. Luckily, I didn't say anything stupid or break wind or anything like that. So, um, yes. Anyway, kind of a well, not a quick show today. It's well, yeah, it's a quick. This is going to be a quick show, actually. What am I talking about? It's going to be a very quick show, but it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to open up the Argo Capital project again. You know, you've probably been following us along over the last probably month or two on that project. We've taken breaks here and there, but we're developing an Argo Capital ship. Execute is going to join us in voice chat here shortly, so we'll have him on board to kind of walk through this. He's really enjoyed the project and has sort of been part of it. So I see a lot of people in chat. I know Steampunk, this is your first time catching us live, so glad you could catch us live. Everyone else in chat, hello. Hope you were doing well. I see Starjump in there. Salute to you, sir. And I see Tristpone in there. Salute to you as well, Trist. Working on getting Trist on an episode of Station. It's just we're on completely different time zones, so it's a little tricky because I can't stream whenever I want. I got limited windows, but we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna figure it out. Kavoth, we got everybody in here. Jack Cop, all the usuals. Solomon, obviously I can't read everyone's name, but thank you all for hanging out today. Excited to see you all. I've got some big plans. The first kind of note, though, for those that don't know, the Oblivion remaster was just announced and is now for sale. So really cool. If you enjoyed Oblivion like me, you get to play it in an all new way and experienced it in a refreshed format, and some of the game functions have been updated too, which is really cool. But you can find that on Steam and I'm sure other places. So Oblivion remaster. I don't know if it's going to be available for Xbox Game Pass. Maybe Xbox Game Pass, possible. We'll see. All right, because we don't have a super long show, we are going to go ahead. I'm going to switch over here to, is this it? Yeah, here we go. Here, I wanted to talk a little bit about Quantum Vegas first. Again, everyone, that is coming up 80 days, 23 hours away. Quantum Vegas 2955, taking place at Area 15, Saturday, July 12th. Okay, going to be a really cool event. You can see some of the people that will be there. We're going to have DePoets as a guest host. You all know and love DePoets. Kim Ellis and Nate Ellis from EE Studios. I am working with Nate to get them on an episode of Starjump Station very soon to talk machinima. We have Sean Tracy, Senior Director of Tools and Tech Content at Cloud Imperium Games, will be there. Other CIG employees will be Galaxtica and Tyler Whitkin, also known as Xylo. Serious Fun, obviously one of our primary moderators, as well as Paul Shelley, the astro historian himself, another moderator. And then you will also have Starjump Grim, yours truly, will be there doing a panel. But hopefully fall goes well depending on things. It's possible both me and Ender will be out there. But really cool event. A lot of great sponsors here. Everyone from Cloud Imperium Game, Nikon City, Monster Tech, all that. It was a great group of sponsors here for this. A lot of great panels. You can go to the website, check it out yourself. Tickets are on sale now for the cheaper price. So feel free to go ahead and get them at that cheaper price while you can. I think at the end of April, the price bumps up a little bit. Okay. And so really important if you want to get it for a good deal to switch over to that. Okay, so let's go into the last bit of news I want to go through before we jump into our primary topic. Yes, mud crabs. Want to talk about St. Jude. Obviously, you can see the graphics ahead of me. We have raised $8,225. Now we're cruising towards our next milestone goal. If I can talk here, next milestone. That's hard. Next milestone goal. There we go. Of $9,000 raised. That is all through you all in chat and your amazing generosity. Give all of yourselves an 07 right now. A big clap. on your end. Make sure you give all of yourselves a big '07 because, again, it's all your generosity here. We're just acting as the platform. But Starjump Guardians campaign, $8,225 raised out of the $9,000 goal. All you got to do is go to our Tiltify link either via the QR code over to the far right, to the Tiltify link that you just saw posted up via Stream Elements, or if you're on YouTube, I got the Tiltify link pinned to the top of chat. So you can very easily get there and make a donation to St. Jude. It's 100% pass through. None of it comes to Starjump at all. All the money going towards sick kids and their families, so make sure you do that while you can. We really appreciate it. We'll be running this all the way through May. Now, do not forget, okay, during this, we're going to be doing a whole bunch of raffles. We got some coming up very soon. Current ones going on right now are for the Misc Fortune with LTI, donated by GearCon. That one will be given away on April 26th. We just got done giving away a Buccaneer, donated by Bingo Winchester, but our next giveaway is April 26th for Misc Fortune with LTI. All that's required is a $10 donation to St. Jude via our Tiltify link. And then, of course, on April 30th, we're giving away the RSI Polaris Corvette, also donated by GearCon with LTI. All that requires is a $100 St. Jude donation. Again, you're donating to St. Jude. That money's going to kids. You get a ticket for that ship entry. Okay, and we have a lot more giveaways coming. Another Polaris, a Carrack, and even more Starjump Challenge coins, Starjump Fleet Viewer, custom liveries, all that good stuff. So make sure you go to the Tiltify link. Please donate if you can, everyone. Every little bit helps. It's a big deal, and we really appreciate it. Last but not least, wanted to go over one other thing before I bring Execute over. Show schedule. I got a number of things planned here. Obviously, today we're doing Argo Capital Shipyard episode. Later tonight, we'll be doing Let's Game with Graham. We might do a few things. And then on the 24th, which is a Thursday, we'll be doing a weekly chat, Life as a Crew Member aboard a ship. I want to talk a little bit about the future of being a crew member on ships. That night, we'll be doing a special Starjump Guardians episode where we'll be interviewing Starjump Ender on his trip to the Play Live Summit. And we got our first donation, Rhino457, who's been absolutely killing it with donations, donating $40, or is it $45? Thank you very much. That is towards the Misc Fortune with Sunspot Paint and LTI. Thank you very much, Rhino457. I'm giving you the double salute because you've been donating a lot, and it is greatly appreciated, Rhino. Everyone, give Rhino an 07 in chat. But we'll be doing a special interview with Starjump Ender about the Play Live Summit, going into the efforts he has made over the past number of years, getting the charity endeavors for Starjump up and running, and the incredible success we've had, closing in on $25,000 total raised. And then, of course, on Friday, we'll be doing Starjump Station, talking all about Invictus leaks and giving away an Atlas Geo, so stay tuned for that. All right, here we go. We're going to switch over. We're going to switch over to, I got to move some windows here. We got to move some windows around. Bear with me, people. Bear with me. We're going to move to this, but first I got to bring our friend Execute into chat. All right, there we go. Hello, Execute. How are you?
Good. I was talking to Andrew, and you cut me off mid-conversation, but that's fine.
Oh,
and
well, hey, that's what the waiting room is. The waiting room is the get ready to get pulled in. Hold on one second. Anonymous just donated $100 to unlock a red wagon for St. Jude. Anonymous, whoever you are, salute to you. I'm giving you the quadruple salute on that one. $100, absolutely amazing. Thank you very, very much. We're climbing up that total raised ladder, everybody. Execute, how are you doing?
I'm good. Waking up slowly. Oh, there he is. Hey, Andrew.
Right,
I feel like I might need to sit in this chat quietly.
Okay.
Sorry,
what's going on?
Because of how I said I feel like I might need to sit in this chat quietly.
Thank you.
I'm gonna mute myself though.
Jock Cop donated $15 towards the Misc Fortune. Thank you very much, Jock Cop. Appreciate it. Yes, everyone. Rhino, Anonymous, and Jock Cop coming in with donations today already, and we're only a few minutes into the stream. Thank you all very much. Again, our St. Jude efforts going through April and the rest of May. All right, we're back to the Argo Capital. Here it is.
So give us a refresher because it's been a little bit. I think it's been almost a month.
It's been a little while, and there's been some reasons for that, and some of those reasons still exist, believe it or not. partially it's gotten more and more complicated, so it's harder to work on. You can't just like bang it out anymore. but
Yeah,
but some things have been updated. We talked obviously about where the UFO ship can dock, which is going to be in a hangar now instead of any sort of docking collar, which it really just kind of aligns with where CIG is going with ship integration in other ships. It seems to me there's less docking and more just like hangars. We saw this with the Banu Merchantman redesign and stuff. So this docking collar up here can now open, revealing the ship. We do need to do some additional animation to get this larger superstructure piece out of the way. We, of course, did a lot of, or I guess I should say I did a lot of animation on the nacelles back here to move those out of the way for allow for bigger ships to animate.
I'm just sitting here thinking, like, if you made it so, you know, the piece that you're saying that needs to move out of the way,
Yeah.
if you just had that rotate vertically, it would actually allow you to help you park in the ship, because you could just like nose right up to it and then go down.
That's actually interesting, kind of like a physical like landing lineup marker.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be cool. That could be really cool. So we have the larger nacelles now that can open up. The partial reason, and this was either from UXQ or a viewer, but actually it's I can't remember who came up with it, but what it actually does is it allows us to park wider ships in there. So think Star Runner or something like that.
It was we had to put in the biggest ship for that size pad, and once we put a bigger ship in, we realized it had to increase.
Yeah, it had to get bigger.
Then it's the metrics. Yeah, it's the metrics.
But it does. There were a few things. Let's see here. Sorry, everyone. I'm juggling some crazy windows today. But there was a couple other things I worked on. I did some cleanup on in the time we
gloves. When you juggle glass, do you wear gloves? Like
I do. I do. I do. Yes, I do. They're very sharp and dangerous on my computer. Let's just put it that way. I did do some cleanup work on the UFO ship. I had to do a little bit of work there. I did do a little bit of geometry culling throughout this area, and I'm still not done. Actually, quite a bit more still needs to be done with these joints over here. These support structures here have actually caused a lot of problems, and I don't want to lose them because I really like them, but they are problematic because of the way the nacelles move. Additional work that has gone in is, if you remember, I talked about wanting to do drone support because the ship is, I think, not only with its nacelles, but I think it could also fabricate other things, possibly even help with the space station development, or the supply hub development, much like the Pioneer does. And to do that, I thought it needed some sort of drone support. So got a drone here.
Well, it'd also allow it to kind of resupply ships as well.
Right. So working on that, I've just been sort of kit bashing a drone that is based off the Aegis repair drone, but then just sort of doing some changes to it and stuff. So there we go. And I just sized it appropriately on what I think the extra large drone sizes are going to be, although it's a little hard to tell. But going off the Pioneer video, the last time we were looking at this ship, we did do the rotating engines to get out of the way for,
quick.
Oh, did I change these? Go ahead.
Yeah, real quick, chat. We need a name for the drone. Give me a name suggestion.
Yeah,
Remember,
we'll need a name for the drone.
4 letters is all you get. So let me see your suggestions. Like Argo. What do we end up calling this? Argo Craft, and then we had the Argo UFO. I guess you get 3 letters if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Sorry.
The only thing with UFO is I feel like that's going to be too on the nose for CIG.
Okay, well, we call it the UAP then, like the Army do.
There you go.
Or the UAP. Was it unidentified aerial phenomenon or something like that they call it?
Yeah. So the next thing we need to do, there's a couple tasks to do today. So the ultimate goal for this is to create a piece of key art. We already know that, right? The key art we want to is essentially like CIG concept art. That is where you have the ship, it's looking all pretty, and with key art, there's 2 things that are important to remember. One, not everything has to be CG. Some of it can be painted in, which we probably will do some painting in. The other thing with concept art is it has to tell a story, right? You are selling something, you're selling an idea, you're selling a fantasy, you're selling something, which is why the CIG concept art again sells ships so well, because yes, the ship designs are cool, but let's be honest, their concept images are on point, right? So with that, coming up with a situation the ship is in to do its work is kind of critical, right? And sometimes, obviously with a ship like this and the way it builds, Mr. Stretch UK donated $15 towards a misfortune. Mr. Stretch, thank you very much. Salute to you. Money starting to come in for these kids and their families going through cancer. So thank you, everyone. Really appreciate it. This ship obviously builds things in space primarily, right? It builds things in space.
Yes.
So key art would need to be focused around the ship, maybe in orbit above a planet.
Thank you.
Texas Horny Toad coming in with a $150 donation. Texas Horny Toad, this is like the third or fourth time, I don't know how many, that he's come in with a massive donation. So Texas, I'm giving you the quadruple support. And yes, everyone, we might briefly stop every little bit when donations come in, because that's what we do here. And we appreciate everyone coming to bat for these kids, again, these families. Don't forget, on Thursday, we're going to do an interview show with Ender and find out all about the St. Jude Play Live Summit and what went on there. And we'll hear the story behind why Starjump does this effort. So, but we may want a planet sort of in the background, or maybe we're in orbit above it. We may want remnants of a space station nearby. We'll obviously need to replace the constellation here with a fully textured one. We do need some additional decal work on this, which we will do. I'll show you all how I do that in Photoshop. Alan Hightower says the Argo turd, tactical utility and resupply depot. By the way, Hoons TV, thank you for that follow, buddy. I really appreciate you. What do you think? Argo turd? Is that what's going to sell it? That's what I'm asking. Is that what's going to really truly sell it for people if it was just called the Argo turd? And for everyone, a little bit of a reminder, I'll do a quick little render here. This is what's known as a hardware preview. I am rendering it, but it doesn't have, a lot of the effects applied in real time, like ambient occlusion and ray tracing and stuff like that, which we'll get to. So,
I've had two people suggest DMD for the drone, but why is DMD?
Yeah, what is that?
The acronym choice. I don't get it. Is there a meaning behind that besides the dedicated manufacturing device? I instantly went to DVD when they said that. I was like, why don't I think make it say DVD? The Argo DVD. I think that's kind of funny. Anyway.
Yeah. CIG has both. They both can keep their abbreviations just very logical, like MPUV stands for what it stands for and stuff. And then there's times where they get cheeky with them as well, obviously. We've seen it with, the mole and with the, what's the other one I'm thinking about? The raft, right? But then on the flip side, they'll sometimes go just completely utilitarian with things like the SRV, right? Where they probably could have called the SRV the TOW, the TOW, and maybe that stuff. Sometimes they just keep it logical.
Well, I think we're getting to the point though that some of the names are just becoming a little bit long in the tooth. Like what was it, the CSM FM, the CSM SM, and like it's too long.
The CSV
like any more than
FM,
three. Yeah, it's just too many letters, and we're about to run into it possibly again with the new Grey Cat thing coming, because they're calling it it seems to be two variants. Like it's called a Grey Cat MTX and an MTV or whatever, or MTC, and I it means nothing. It's just three random letters.
Right. I think it's called the Mobile Tactical Center. But let's just say for conversation.
You're not gonna. It doesn't roll off the tongue though. You can pick any animal, like an aardvark or anything like that. Because I talked to a lot of the military people. They don't generally, even if they call it an acronym, the troops will end up renaming because it's too hard to say and too hard to remember.
Sure. And it's one of those things where it's like the MTX or the MTC, let's just say for conversation purposes, it is a mobile armory, which is what I'm thinking it is, a sort of ground-based mobile armory. Let's say it is that. they could easily call it like the Gray Cat Armadillo. Like it doesn't really matter the name. It's just it's just so weird how sometimes they really lean into something and sometimes they don't. It's kind of interesting. So, like for example, the Drake with the Golem, right? It's kind of they're being a little cheeky with it. Where certain manufacturers, it seems like they're not doing that, but Argo has done that before with the mole and the raft. So it's a little strange. But again, that just highlights that there's different people that are involved with naming these things sometimes from time to time. So a lot of interesting little options coming in there though.
Yeah, I put one in myself. I put in RVR because I was just thinking the word rover and then dropped
yeah.
the vowel, so to speak.
Yeah, I see.
Argo Beaver.
Okay.
Argo BVR. Yeah, that's it. The Argo Beaver. The Argo BVR. I like that. That's actually kind of funny.
So another thing I want to point out real quick to everybody, when we're talking about key art, because we are started moving to sort of the key art phase. Like everything I'm doing from this point is sort of for key art, and what I mean by that is well, yes, we want to probably eventually figure this thing out for animation. At the key art phase, for example, we may only see the ship from this angle because maybe we want to see it doing manufacturing back here, right? And at this angle, like maybe you'd have one here, but maybe there'd be another Argo cap ship back here flying to where we can sort of see the front, right? Sort of how CIG does it. And there's other factors that we may have to do. So, for example, if back in this manufacturing area, if it projects, let's say it projects some sort of shield back here to protect the manufacturing or something, I'll need to do some lighting to enhance that effect when we go into paint work in Photoshop. So
yeah. So you're essentially setting this up to take screenshots, make posters, that type of thing. So this is that what you're saying? Like,
exactly.
Clarify for the audience. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's one of those things that like it would be good to have the ship totally fleshed out, totally working and animated and stuff. And I probably will do that because, again, I really like this project. But at the end of the day, too, I want to be able to give away, do a poster giveaway for this ship and do a digital poster for free for everybody. And especially during St. Jude Play Live. So in order to do that, we got to start transitioning to that that key art sort of phase. So just keep that in mind, that you may say, well, why isn't Graham working on landing gears, or why isn't or something like that. And it's just a case of will it be seen in the concept art, so or the key art, right? So for example, another one of those is the bridge. I may not do clear glass and build out the bridge because we may not even see the front of the ship. So
maybe it just doesn't land.
And maybe it doesn't land. Yeah. Again, big capital like this, it's always very possible it could not land. And when we do key art, and I think I have, let me pull up this one image because this image is a good example of what I'm talking about. Where is it? Right here. Let me pull this up. Yeah, this image right here. You'll notice that I did do stuff like that. So for example, there's drones out here working. I've got other ships flying by. I got a planet in the background. Because of this planet, I've needed to light these ships in a certain way. Again, just stuff like that. It's little considerations. So that's exactly why I'm starting to shift to the key art mindset. All right, let's see here. And sorry if I missed anything in chat, everybody. See here. Steampunk says Sisters of Battle. This is a project he's been working on for quite a while. Yeah, it's a fan project. Sisters of Battle, are they in chat? Yeah, they're Sisters of Battle. Yeah, Sisters of Battle. Great father-daughter content creators, by the way. This is a concept ship we're kind of building live on stream. Execute's been part of it. We've been kind of rolling through it here, building what we think an Argo capital could be. It went from repair ship to now capital fabrication ship, or no, not capital fabrication. It's just a fabrication ship, primarily focusing on large ships. I think is what we decided, right?
Building other ships, basically.
Yeah, building other ships. And you can see here it's got some transforming parts and pieces for it to to be able to do ships of a wider beam. So think ships like the Corsair, which the Corsair can have its wings folded up though during construction. But ships like the MSR is probably a really good example. The MSR is it's a large ship, right? Technically large.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, same thing. So
it's on the lower large spectrum, but it's a large ship. But it's got a really wide beam, right? So okay. So let's get to work here. First off, let's start sketching out some of the obvious here. What do we want our key art to be? Do we want a planet in the background? Because if we do, I want to start mapping some of that out.
I think you want to pick really what you're trying to focus on. Like, what are you trying to sell?
Well, we
to
want
the
to.
potential.
Well, we want to
purchaser
show
of the
two
ship.
things. I think we want to show
Yep.
two things with this. We want to show that this is a ship that is
Build ships.
that builds ships, that fabricates ships. So we need to show it doing that. And probably the best way to show that is showing the rear end like this, right? Some sort of epic shot of it constructing.
I actually think a shot that's kind of got like the it's just, and I know this is probably a bit of work what I'm about to say, but if you could actually show like the cockpit that's overlooking the ship and like it being constructed on, so kind of like zoomed in a little bit on what you are now, but like almost like someone's in there, like, and they're looking at plans or something and then pointing and going, yeah, we're putting out there, and
right.
That's
and
what
it could be that if you see them up in the bridge doing that, it could be a situation where the ship out here, where this Connie is, and this is a good reason, for example, why I have not textured this or anything yet, is that this could just be more like a hologram, like we see how CIG's handling construction. It's going to be done via hologram at first, so this could be a hologram,
I was almost thinking more like a Death Star where it's half constructed.
Or something like that, yeah.
And then the drones, you're going to have some drones flying around doing the work.
Yeah. So with this, we could have this going on. Let's say if this is kind of our shot right here, you could have the UFO. You could have it
be doing some work too.
Yeah, you could also just have it just flying around, like maybe the owner of this ship has just decided to take it on a little runabout. Maybe they're heading up to a station or something, but it could even be like up here flying an opposite direction, right? We could have our drones out here doing what they're doing. Some of them are flying around. Again, you can just kind of rotate stuff right here. Like maybe one's there. Maybe we'll have another one. Maybe another one is kind of towards the rear, doing some awesome laser beam construction on the rear of the ship. Again, we're just sketching right now, everybody. This isn't anything that's like it's done.
Move one into that negative space that's under the Connie cockpit.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
Let's see.
You see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, there. And then have him like facing towards the ship like he's welding or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that. That's good.
Yeah.
A little lower because he's in that negative space.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe he's sort of working on that underneath, right?
Yeah, like the cell thing or something.
Yeah.
Or underneath,
Yeah. And sometimes I like to think of things to sort of like, and by the way, everyone, just again, another heads up, this will be a short stream today. I have a hard meeting at 1 p.m. work related that I have to be there for. So it's only got about an hour here. But again, what we're going to do.
With his wife. She's a hard mistress.
She is my boss. So yeah, I got to. But what we're going to do is we're going to get everything laid out. We might do some additional decal work. We might do some lighting work. I'd like to get some base lighting done. And when we get to the end of the stream, wherever we're at, we'll save. And then probably later today, I'll do some additional cleanup work on it. And my goal is on next Tuesday's episode of Shipyard, we finish the key, like we get the key art completely rendered out and done, and we bring it into Photoshop and we'll start painting. And that's where you'll start to see all those effects come into play, like the streaks of thruster residue, flying through the air. If we want a space station in the background, we'll composite that in, all that kind of stuff. So
you need a third drone underneath the back right nacelle, just above the bar, so basically between the two nacelles at the back. I'm just seeing where you need a third one.
Yeah, we could do that. We could do that again,
Just-
and that's what
I've got my mouse there, but I don't know if you know where I'm talking about. Like
I
down at the,
don't. But what we can do is
behind
we
the
can,
Connie, behind the Connie, down no, somewhere in that area
Yeah.
to the left as well was where I was thinking, but need a third one because
Yeah.
then you'd have two working and then one coming back, like he's going to get the snacks and he's coming back.
yeah,
Or-
yeah, that could be cool. I
He's not
like
going to
that.
get the snacks. He's going to get more resources. 'Cause obviously they're running out of
Yeah.
resources. But
Yeah. Okay, cool. I kind of
like
like
that. That's exactly where I was thinking. Yeah,
I kind of like where we're going with this. I kind of like so.
Mm.
One to do that we are going to have to do though is if this is in fact if we're going to be able to see someone up there on some sort of observation bridge here in the back looking at Artemis.
Also-
thank you very much, man, for hanging out. Appreciate it. Yeah, go
Also,
download that
have
remake.
Have the hanger open, the iris hanger open, and the hatch
Yeah.
up vertical.
Yeah,
because that
we can
shows you
do that.
the UFO and maybe have trails up the UFO that kind of slightly lean back in that direction to kind of show that it just took off.
Yeah, we are going to. One
Um,
thing I have to do real quick is I need to make a camera. We're going to call this our hero cam. We may adjust the field of view on this too as well. And the reason I want the hero cam and I want to lock it, which I'm going to do now, is that we can always come back to this. So for example, if I turn the
Yeah.
camera off and let's say I navigate over because I want to look at something else or get this armature here set up,
you go
I
back
can
to-
always
yeah.
click back on my camera and it takes us back to where we were. So hopefully that makes sense.
Probably you could take a key, a page out of CIG's playbook and also have light come out of the you know how they had the Polaris one when they did it and they had the Polaris
Yeah.
doors open and they had light coming out of it.
Yeah.
Or something like that with the UFO.
Yeah,
So
that'd be
look good
cool.
for this
That'd
shot.
be cool. I'll need to build. This is all one piece here. I'll definitely want to build something that's like actuated. So I'm going to leave this part as is for the
For
moment.
now, that's fine.
Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn those two pieces off so that I can get some. Where's this other UFO? Let's go in. Here's the other UFO. I'm just going to turn that off. And then one thing I need to do is I'm going to put a light source. And again, what we're going to start doing here with the light sources is just start placing them for future.
Do you have light shafts in this or not?
Yeah, we could do light shafts. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you have like a light ring almost come up. that'd be
Yeah,
cool.
let's see. And again, this is just going to be, just so everyone knows, this is placeholder lighting. I need to go back and redo this. So for example, I'll switch this to volumetric. This will be placeholder lighting. This will be lighting that I need to go back and actually do essentially better versions of it. Because lighting can take a long time for anyone who's not in the film and television industry. I can tell you right now, lighting is a very big deal. It takes a very long time, and
It gives you all the details.
It gives you all the details.
Yeah.
And it's probably the primary thing that affects the scene. You know what I mean?
Actually, a real simple way to put it to people that play Star Citizen is you'll know sometimes when you're in a hangar, you can see all these cool details, but you go into the darkness of space or you're not looking at the sun, so to speak, lighting your ship.
Yeah.
You can't see anything. That is a really simplified version, but
Yeah.
that's essentially the same thing.
Yeah. So I'm going to scale up the noise of the light. Everyone's getting a little bit of a crash course 3D lesson here. This is really bright right now, by the way. I'm leaving it bright so that I can better manipulate it. Oops, that's not what I want to do. I will tone this down in just a minute. So
it'd be really cool if you have like those welding effects off the drone. They could actually be creating light around that construction area too. That would look kind of cool.
Yeah, if you've ever seen some of my older Crucible animations of the arms repairing, whenever they'll send out sparks, there was always like a flash of blue lighting and stuff. So you can kind of see here, we have our light source in the hangar. It's obviously pretty bright and shallow at the moment, where we are going to fix that now.
It's funny you mention that because it being such an orange ship, blue is really going to be the color of choice for the lighting and maybe even the planet behind. So even if you had an Earth-like planet behind it, as an example, to show that this is kind of like up above the planet constructing ships. I think that's because you can almost see the lighting a little bit there in the background. It almost looks like a bit of clouds there on the back right.
Yeah,
I could see this in the atmosphere above a water planet be a perfect screenshot because it's such an orange ship. And so what I'm talking about here is basic color theory, people.
Yeah.
And to give you a real simple analogy, at Christmas time, the colors for Christmas are red and green. And the reason they do that is they're opposite colors, so they pop like crazy.
Yeah.
So you can use almost any opposite color, and it really highlights the colors. So by putting blue in the background, and you've got this large orange ship, it's going to move the thing that's closer to you more, make it a lot more predominant.
Yeah.
And
I've just
so, yeah,
turned off anti-aliasing, which is going to make things look really bad. But again, when you're doing some basic lighting, that's what we want. Again, we're starting to get some of that lighting emanating from the hangar. Again, we'll need to go back and do that. I mean, here's the interesting thing, though, with planets. And I'll go back to this image. Actually, I'll go to, what's a good one to do? I'm going to bring up this image real quick. So this image, which I didn't put a lot of work into, so this was actually sort of just a paint over. I always meant to go back and finish it. But the bigger issue with it is because I knew I was going to have this massive planet underneath, you have all that light reflecting off the planet. So the planet itself becomes a light source. So you may still have the sun out there, but the planet is so bright underneath that it's lighting all these ships, right? Now, I still had my starlight on this, but I could actually dial that down to where it feels like the ships are more dramatically lit underneath. And that will play a role in this lighting. So for example, if I know the lighting, and let me go back to my, let me save here before we crash. Let me go back to my top view here. If I know the planet, let's say we have our ship, we're looking at it top down. Let's say I bring something over here, like, and again, I do this sometimes just as placeholder, right? Let's say there's my ship, and I'm like, okay, my planet is going to be over here. So here's my, where's my planet is going to be. I'll go back to this, and it's probably too low. 1 second. Okay, so let's let me do more segments for that. Okay, so let's say I know my planet's going to be over here. Now it's one of those things where I don't have to be totally realistic on the scale. By the way, I can totally fake that. But maybe the planet is more underneath. Maybe it's above. We can start figuring that stuff out.
Yeah, I was gonna think about where you've got it. It's kind of funny how we're
up above
again. But what? No, I was going to say go below, and then what you can do is you can either put the sun on the top left or a moon or something like that on the left-hand side. So it leaves space to, you can have your cake and eat it too, essentially.
Yeah. So. Oops, sorry. Stand by. I just messed something up. Bear with me, everybody. I made it a lot bigger because I wanted to get less curvature, so I'm just going to scale it down here. Sometimes that's a little bit of a thing.
Oh, I like the curvature, but you do you, man.
There we go. Get something like that. So one thing with that, I'm just going to turn it off for a minute because ultimately the planet would be done in compositing. But what I am going to do is I am going to get a light source in here, another light source, and I'm going to kind of bring it in the general location of the planet.
Yeah. Doesn't hurt to be compositing though all the way along. Even if you push things in post, at least you can kind of get the rough visual reference.
And one thing
this is almost like white boxing or grey boxing for
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like we're banging all together.
Exactly. Yeah. And one of the reasons that this kind of sketching is good is this may give me additional information on parts of the ship I need to detail out because maybe they're getting hit with a blast of light. You know what I mean? So it can be pretty important. So again, you
can see now, even just having that light kind of on the inside of the arms there, I'm realizing now you're gonna see a lot of that inside arm detail on the right hand side.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So there may be additional detail I need to do there, and that could be fine-tooth detail like rivets and panels that I don't have time to do for the entire ship, but I do have time to do for one section of a ship. Okay.
I actually think the other thing is you probably want to have one person out there EVAing in one of the Argo suits.
Yeah, we might end up getting another bit of what do you call it?
We definitely know they can go in space. So for those people who are going, they can't currently fly, there is a poster in Astro Armada in the game. It's been in there for over 5 years, like 2019 it went in. And it literally shows Argo.
I don't have that handy, but if anyone does,
I'll find it.
Yeah, DM it to me if you can.
Actually, someone sent it to me. No, it wasn't. It was on Twitter. It was Tree on Twitter.
Oh, Tree
sent it to me a couple of days. Yeah, he posted it. And,
by the way, everyone, I am working on getting Tree in on an episode of Starjump Station. It's just been battling schedules. So
Just sending him a hey message so I can post it in. There you go.
Cool.
That's the one. That's
Okay.
actually taken directly from Tree's post.
All right, let
But
me
he
bring this.
didn't actually know where it was, but yeah, that's actually directly in Astro Armada, and it's probably got a
There
bit
we
of
go.
lighting in the image, so you can't see it perfectly.
Yeah.
But you cannot tell me that's not the ATLS that's in space.
Yeah,
I
there you
wouldn't
go,
believe it.
everyone. There's the EVA
Yeah.
suit. Obviously, this one is different in one major way, in that it looks fully enclosed, obviously for the vacuum of space. But
well, it's salvaging too. That's the other
yeah,
thing. We
it's
don't have a
salvaging.
salvage
Yeah.
range. This leads me to believe. Can we talk about this a little briefly?
Yep.
This week, Grim and Trispone are going to be on the infronters for the stream, and we're going to be speculating like crazy about a whole bunch of ships that are coming, and we're just going to go. We're going to go to town. Right, so we're just going to go absolutely through everything that we think is coming and all that type of thing. So this will probably be one of the things we go through at some point. But I think the ATLS is actually going to be a completely modular system when it's done, because you can clearly see that the backpack, you take it off the Geo, you put a different backpack on, and then it allows you to be like spaceborne instead of a jetpack. Or a jump pack, or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And then you just change at the moment, you can see that you just take off the mining arm and you put the tractor beam on. So why couldn't you just take the tractor beam off or the mining head off and put a salvage arm on?
Right.
It's pretty simple, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So I think that's what that suit's going to be. But I recorded a really cool episode this week that'll be out next week on Titan suits as well. We went pretty deep, me and SA. So yeah.
Very nice. And everyone, you're starting to notice I'm putting some underlighting on here again, compensating, trying to, you can see that if I, you see this little bit of lighting hit here, if I move it around, you can see that lighting change. Again, what you're doing with lighting, there's sort of two things with lighting that are important to remember, and now other people may say different things, especially people that are professional lighters in the CG world, of which I am not. Let's be extremely clear, I am not a lighter. But to speak on that for a minute, Mr. Stretch, by the way, said stretch. Okay, stretching. Thank you, Mr. Stretch. But the two main things you're trying to do with lighting is, one, you're trying to capture a moment in time, obviously, right? Time of day, all that kind of stuff. Another thing you're trying to do is shape things, especially in the world of CG. And even probably, I would say even more so in space, where you don't really have like ground planes, atmospheric perspective, all that kind of stuff. You're starting to shape things, and you're trying to use the light to get certain parts of whatever you're lighting, in this case a ship, to stand out in the way you want, right? So for example, I give you a good example of this. I'm going to add another light. Here it is. Actually, here's my light. It's just an Omni light right now, right? But you can see how I'm kind of like, even just moving it over here, I've lit up that 08 decal there on the side of the ship, right? But let's go even a step further, right? Let's say I have this bit of type right here, this Argo Aeronautics fabrication arm type here that's on the nacelle. Now, there wouldn't just be a floating light off in the space. You need to do it exactly how CIG does it. The first thing I'd do is I'd make it a spotlight, right? And then that spotlight needs to be mounted on the ship somewhere. So let's say it is mounted on the nacelle arm where the type is at. You see this a lot on CIG ships, right? Where there'll be a light mounted, and then that light maybe has a wider range here.
Does the arm go down from the top? Does it come up from the bottom? Does it shoot back down towards the side? They're all things you got to take into consideration.
All things you got to take into consideration. Yeah.
So if you shoot it back like that, you can see it's now lighting back to the ship itself. So that's often they tend to shoot it in a direction where it's not going to light the ship itself.
Right. Exactly. So and it could really be anywhere. For example, it could be pointing down, which is another thing CIG does a lot, and you can see this on the Idris, for example. There's a lot of lights on the Idris that point down. There was a time period, to be quite honest with you, where I thought CIG was not moving away from this, but getting to where it was, I don't know, maybe like even forgotten to some degree. But the ship that changed all that for me was the Polaris. CIG put so many exterior shaping lights on the Polaris that I was like, okay, we're back. And again, that is another reason why, and I say this a lot, that is another reason why I do, and I'll render this little area here. I'm just not doing this for real right now, just kind of showing you the difference it could make. But this is another reason. Oops, I'm on no anti-aliasing. Let me turn back to best. But this is another reason that I think, for example, that the Idris exterior will be changed to the one we saw in the Squadron demo, because the current one really does not have a lot of exterior lighting that shapes the ship in any way. It's not even just a geometry mesh issue that the Javelin and Idris have. They look great in broad daylight, but when you put those ships on the black side of a planet, the dark side of a planet, you really can't see much. They do have a few exterior lights, but nowhere near what the Polaris has. So it's not just the geometry, but it's also the lighting. It's the shape language there. And I think, again, another reason why that's going to happen. I'm getting a lot of these speckles here. Why is that?
Those speckles, though, are giving me the idea of space debris. It could be kind of interesting play if you had some space
well,
debris.
I did see someone say, and by the way, I think I know what the speckles are. We're on... we probably need to go.
So I'm actually what I'd like to see is
our
maybe
layer
a
sampling's too
vulture,
low.
a vulture in the background, like blurred in the background closer to the planet.
Yeah,
that's salvaging, or
well,
a reclaimer even. That's
and
in the background.
We will want other ships for sure. Now here's the question though: should it be an Argo ship?
Well, there's right now we've only got 3 salvages, so take your pick.
Yeah. But you know, CIG sometimes likes to do concept art in that where they show ships help it, like of the same family doing their thing. I don't know.
Hey, if you want to go all the way ahead and create an Argo salvager that's going to sit blurrily in the background, go nuts. I have no problem with that. But you do you, bro. I was trying to save you less work, but you want to make yourself more work. Go nuts. That's it, guys. Now, so the next ship will be the Argo salvager made by Grimm.
Now, this just illuminated something for me. I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that word. Here's another good reason why lighting is so critical. What this has now shown me is that if this is their work area and this is the bridge and they're looking out, there would probably be lights inside these arms that shine into the work area.
Also off the cockpit as well.
You and probably off and we have 2 of them here, up here.
Yeah.
They're supposed to shine forward, but we would probably have a light or 2, which means some geometry in the nacelle arms to put that out there, right? To put
realistically, you'd have at least minimum of 6 lights. You could probably have 3 along each arm, though. Looking at if you're thinking where I'm thinking, there's 3 kind of points along each arm.
Yeah,
and then as you said, in the 2 off the cabin or cockpit up there. Yeah, that's kind of where I see. But you do you.
Yeah, and
maybe
also
even some under lighting along the the frame bit that goes along the bottom.
Yeah,
you could use that to do artificial underlighting as well if you wanted to. Just a suggestion.
Yep, I think so. Let's again, everyone, we're not putting the actual lights in right now. We're doing lights to just help shape the scene. Okay, that's what we're doing here. These are lights just to figure out what we're actually looking at. And you can actually, I'm not going to render this quite yet, but you can see how we're already starting to get some drama going on here, right? I think we're still a little dark over here, but the other thing is that we can do some ambient lighting that will help with that. Well, actually, no, we can do some volumetric lighting. Let's talk about that for a minute. So I'm going to go to a scene. Well, I'll just do it right here, actually. So right now, this is a light, right? I just put a light in. And if I render this area, you won't see anything. It's just going to be stars, right? However, if I want this to be a volumetric bit of, let's call it space dust or spacescaping, as I think CIG calls it, I can grab this light. Now I'm in Cinema 4D, other software, it's a little different. I can change it. I'll keep it Omni, but I'm going to change it to visible light. Okay, and you can see this little thing popped up here. I'm going to make it nice and big, right? We're in a dusty area. I think someone said asteroid field earlier. Someone in chat said asteroid field earlier. We're going to go with that. We're going to go with that. So I'm going to do this. It's visible light. We're going to do no illumination because I don't want it to like kill the machine. So essentially this is spacescaping 101 here. Okay, so we're going to go to we're going to go to noise. We're going to turn on some noise because it needs to have some noise to it, and we probably need to scale that noise up a lot. So it doesn't look like a diffuse uniform thing. There's going to be some differences there. I actually sometimes like to pull the contrast or the brightness down and up the contrast a little bit when I'm doing that. And then let's give it a color. In this case, maybe we'll do something like, just for the sake of working on this for the moment, we'll just do kind of a deeper blue. We're going to pull some of the saturation out of it though. Okay, so here we go. And then I'm going to have the brightness way too bright. Okay, it's going to be way, way too bright. But that's the whole point because I need to be able to see it. So I'm just going to render this out now. Give it a second. There you go. You can see the blue color shining through. And because it's volumetric, it has the ability to cross over the ship and give it some like sort of some fall off. And we'll see that here once it comes up.
It's almost like you're making atmosphere with lights.
You're kind of making atmosphere out of lights, yeah.
Mm.
Now, let's be clear. You can do real volumetrics, right? Real gas clouds and stuff. But we're just making an image here. We don't need to do all that. Okay.
And he's not wrong. It really does kill PCs. Like, especially when you get lights essentially lighting into each other too.
Yeah.
Because then it's got to calculate all that shit, so it takes even longer.
Exactly. So I'm actually, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull this out quite a bit. That way we get some nice crossover. I'm going to pull the saturation out a bit, obviously, because it's pretty artificial looking here. We're going to make it a little bit darker. We're going to ultimately bring the brightness way down to something like 30%. We're just going to see how that looks. I'm going to go ahead and calculate this. This will take a minute.
I think this, I don't know, where my brain's going is this probably should be like some of the darker vulture shots. Because I think with the welding and stuff, it would be cooler to be in a darker part of the universe because you'd be able to highlight a lot of that construction stuff and just some of the lights we've already naturally got. Like it's got a lot of natural lights on the ship. So the one out of the hangar, you've got all the lights for construction around the construction bay. So you can actually use the lights it has to light the scene and give it that darker, moodier, industrial feel. I think it you know, some of CIG shots are like really bright, like they're in the sun and then they're happy. You know, a lot of the luxury shots are like that. But this one is more I'm the working man, you know, like in a almost like an industrial forge shot. You know how the industrial forges are very dark, but then you have these really bright glows, a little bit like that.
Yeah, exactly. And that has happened on some of my stuff in the past where I've done some lighting work and it will have a certain vibe, and then suddenly I change my mind and decide to switch all that up and it becomes something else. For example, I can show you, let me bring up, let me go to my content here, Shipyard, episodes, Merchantman. Let me go to...
You'd be surprised how quickly, though, a couple lights can completely change a scenery.
Oh yeah, completely change it. And I'll show you right here in these pre-renders. So these are some of the shots I did for the Banu Merchantman Shipyard episode. And you can, and these originally looked very different. They were very kind of gray and stark, black and white. Like the ship was lit nicely, but it was still just like black star field and very simple. And then I was like, oh, you know what? For the Merchantman, I want to do something kind of crazy. So I did.
Sorry, these on the screen because we can't see.
No, I haven't pulled them up yet. They're coming up now.
All right. All right. You just slacked, right? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. This should be coming up now. Just a minute.
There we go.
But you can see, like, I decided like to do a lot of like extreme lighting, not because I wanted to be realistic or anything, but just because I wanted to give it some visual identity, let it stand out, and have something a little interesting going on. Where's that one? That's not the one I was hoping to do. And some of these I'd never even finished, and they're not in the actual episode, like this one here, where I did the Kraken coming over. These are lower res renders here of the Kraken with the caterpillar on the deck and then flying past a merchantman. Again, trying to highlight the privateer versus merchantman thing, but again, never ended up throwing these in the scene. But the idea here was to just go sort of extreme with the lighting. I was like, okay, maybe it's in pyro or something like that, and I'm bringing in some of those colors. So again, this can take a long time to render. Again, when you get into lighting, but you can start to see how that blue is sort of starting to fade into the scene and create something kind of interesting. Now, again, when you're doing that, a lot of times when you're working with lighting, you're dealing with it at like really bright settings. Ultimately, when I render out this real shot, most of the stuff's going to come way down. So this like volumetric light right here will probably come down to something like 10%. You know what I mean? The idea is that we're just, because as you add lights are an additive process. So once you're adding more lights, it's starting to get, first off, it's getting to a bigger render, bigger and heavier render, but also they start counteracting each other sometimes, and or because they're additive, where you put a subtle light before can start to get brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter. So
you can even see the effect that I was kind of like talking about, like with the welding on that top drone. See how it's like white on its face and then
Yeah.
dark on the back. That's the type of, you all would have seen those shots,
yes,
you know, where the stock footage of a welder guy and he's like welding and like he's all real bright on his face and everything else is really dark. That's kind of
Yeah.
the mood I was talking
you can see a
about.
little bit. And here's the other cool
Yeah.
thing you can do, and this is something I'm glad you brought that up. So for example, I'll add another light here, and here's this little light. But what I can do is I can click on, so here's this drone right here. I can go back to this light and I can tell this light to only light that drone. Ignore everything else in the scene. So so when I move it around now, you can see it doesn't affect the big ship, but it affects that smaller ship.
So
And
for example, just
yeah.
make, before you render it, make
Yeah.
that light like light blue or something, so it
yeah,
like it's light in his face or something
yeah,
as well.
right there we go. Because it's
just
small,
so
I have to give it a little something. There we go. But you can see I can shape it, and I can start to bring a little bit out of this drone here, right? And I can even pump up the brightness a little bit if we want it to be extreme, right? So then when I render this, you can see that front now is going to be a lot brighter than it was. Let it render here. Now I know on stream, everyone, this is pretty small, but you can kind of see that here. The rest of it is in darkness up here, but the face is in brightness, right? And I would probably put a few pin lights on there too. There's just the little, locator lights and stuff like that. But yeah, that gives you a good example. And for an organization standpoint, by the way, this light I would probably call drone highlight, right? So when I'm done with this, we might have 100 lights, by the way, just so everyone knows.
It is almost easier when you get into lighting to start to individually light things rather than realistically light things. That's why one of the interesting things about SC is that they have a light that is the entire sun.
Yes.
Like it's kind of crazy to do that because it's kind of dangerous to do that.
It's dangerous.
Because it's really hard to get it consistent across the entire thing.
And we can see one of my biggest complaints about the one light source kind of thing they're doing with that is that it doesn't take into account atmospheric reflection. So the atmosphere on our planets, especially the ones that are really hazy, they'll actually throw up a little bit of light as well. And so that's an issue. But also, since we don't have the ability with some ships to see very well when it's dark or when we're on the dark side of a planet, I do think CIG personally, I think it should be dark, and I think it should be close to pitch black. But I personally wish CIG would go in and do a little bit of artistic lighting on the dark side of planets. Again, I'm talking 2%, just to where it's not a black void. Or, obviously, the other thing is to give us advanced optics to be able to see through that. But ultimately, there is a lot of ambient light sources even in the solar system. Yes, you can go to a certain side of a planet and it's black, but there's a lot of other ambient light sources that occur too. So, for example, if you have a moon like our moon that has a really high albedo and there's a lot of reflection there, that can be picked up. If you've ever been out on a dark night and the sun and the moon is up there in full brightness, you can see pretty well,
Well, also with the game taking so long, a lot of the people that play the game are aging as well. Like I know, like I teach a lot of people here where I live, like how to, use their phones and stuff like that. I help a lot of old people. Like I do a lot of volunteer stuff, and there's people that are my age that I'm teaching, but then there's people that are a lot older. So as you get older, your eyesight, you just can't see in the dark areas as well. So not knowing that a lot of people that back this game have been doing it for a while, I think it'd be nice to have a easier to see mode. I don't want us to call that. Otherwise, you're just getting everyone turning their camera up so they can see in the dark. So there's ways around it. You might as well just put it in the game.
Yeah. And just for anyone joining the stream, we're working on it's a fan creation Argo capital ship. We're you may have seen it in the thumbnail. I will turn off lights here for a minute so everyone can actually see what the hell we're talking about. This is it here. It started off as a repair ship. It has turned into a fabrication ship for large ships. You can kind of see here it's got some motion to it, but we're working on some key art setup at the moment.
So Ed in YouTube chat says, I don't think Argo Capital would be a factory, probably cargo. No, not really. Most cargo ships, most capital ships, if you look at them in Star Citizen, they all fall into a niche. They all start to become more niche as they go up. So and a lot more nailed in at one thing, and they're all kind of in different areas. So like if you look at the Orion, it obviously goes into mining. You look at the Endeavour, it's going into the science and hospitality and that type of thing. They don't tend to be or they kind of go a little bit the other way and become a bit more versatile, like the Kraken. You know, they don't tend to do just one thing anymore, or they really nail into one thing. They're not exactly. I don't think you'll ever see a large cargo ship like that. I think the closest, well, again, what would that be? The Benemetra Man would be the closest thing to that you can think of.
To a large what? A large capital or a large cargo?
So he was saying that the Argo capital ship would be cargo,
and
I don't agree with that. From everything that I've seen of capital ships, it wouldn't be that way.
There's been no mention of it. It's not that they couldn't; they definitely could. I would, if they were, I'd almost expect some sort of like upscaled raft. But
there is one, if I think about it. It's the Hull E.
Yeah, but yeah. I mean, the whole series.
Another one. So Ed, let me put it this way: if you've got the Hull E that's already doing it, right? What do you make? You wouldn't make another capital cargo ship. That's probably what I'm trying to get at. There's no double ups at the capital end, is what I'm trying to say. They have to kind of stand on their own 2 feet because they're just so big and they're so time consuming. You wouldn't want to even risk. Think about it from what do you call it? From the more unique it is, the more you're going to sell of it, so to speak, in it from a manufacturing term. It's the same thing in the real world. Like at the top end, you do not see as many double ups. But when you go down to like cars and stuff, like most cars have, 6 degrees of separation. But when you go up to like planes, they start to separate even more. And then you get up to say something like SpaceX. Well, no other rocket like those rockets are all so different.
They
from
become
each other.
so specialized, and from an in-lore perspective too, the whole series definitely dominates, or is supposed to dominate the heavy cargo market. Now, again, not to say that Argo couldn't come out with a competitor. I mean, some could argue that, well, isn't the Kraken a competitor to the Idris because they're both light carriers essentially? There's two different, very different use cases with that one, which is specifically where the Idris was developed specifically for the military, and the Kraken was developed specifically for the civilian market. So while they do have some overlap, they're both combat capable carrier ships. They were developed for 2 separate markets, right?
I think you'd agree that the Kraken leans a lot more towards support utility, as in like you can take out a small bunch of utility ships and they're going to get like just being able to hold so many more ships on it as well. But they're not as well defended. So you can see where they're both leaning, where the capital one's all enclosed and stuff like that.
Yeah, but Ed, you are asking a question that I think is a great question, and and we speculate about this a lot. I know the info runners do, and I'm sure Tristpone does, and other ship loving people. Are we going to see blank manufacturer do blank roll? And I would agree with Execute for just based off of what we seem to be seeing. Things that we've heard from people is that on that lower end of the spectrum, you will start to see a lot of doubling up. We're starting to see that a little bit now on the industrial spectrum with the Fortune versus the Vulture and the Golem versus the Prospector. But as you go bigger, things start to get a little bit more specialized. So, for example, it's not to say they won't have a Pioneer competitor at some point. Like, I am very sure there will be a ship that can build the supply bay, the thing that builds the space stations. There'll probably be a ship that can build that in the future other than the Pioneer. But there probably only going to be like one other like option, in the future. Like I think the Pioneer, you're getting to, they want that to sort of become, think of like World of Warcraft. When you're a lower player, there's a ton of gear you can wear. But when you get to the higher levels of raiding, you're wearing the latest raid tier gear. You know what I mean, or whatever. It's kind of like that.
It's like the real world though. Like it's so much more work to make a big ship than it is to make small ships, right? So what so it took them it takes 18 months and 8 people to make a Polaris. Making another Polaris right now, what do they get out of that? Nothing.
Right.
really. They've already got all those features. There's no absolute benefit. So if you were to go and make a Pioneer 2, as you were suggesting, right?
Yep.
You don't get anything extra out of that. But if I make a whole nother capital ship that has no category at all,
Yep.
that's all gain.
Right.
Everything is gain. So you got to look at it from that perspective. But I have no doubt that they will come back. And like one of the things we asked John and Ben when we sat down with them is like, could we expect, like, are there going to be more really large capitals in the future? And they said, yeah, of course. But they're not a priority right now because of gameplay and stuff like that. So we will be getting them. And you've also got to look at Squadron as well. As episode 2 and 3 roll out, they're going to want to put new ships in that just for fun. I have no doubt that Anvil capital ship is probably tied up in episode 2 or 3, to be honest with you. Like,
Right,
that's
yeah.
where you'd put it, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if you know, it's supply and demand type of thing, and it doesn't really having another, as I said, like another Polaris-like ship, nothing. But when you're putting it into Squadron, well, that's different because it's a different, you know, it's a change. It changes the pace of the storyline. It gives you something fresh.
Yeah.
That makes a lot more sense. And that we just happen to also get into the universe at the same time. Bonus.
Yeah.
2 for 1.
Real quick, everyone, I'm bringing something up here.
It'd not be feed pigs.
Yeah, exactly. For those wondering about the size of this ship, I think we currently have it spec'd out to almost 250-ish meters, 253 meters or so, to give you an idea of what that looks like next to something like a Javelin. Here you go again. Okay, Javelin's a big ship. But you know this Argo capital is I think we targeted around 250-ish meters or so. I didn't want to go above. Yeah, VM, dude. I'm sorry. Yes, you do need to get this model from me. Please remind me because I keep forgetting. I'm sorry. By the way, VM XEO, everyone, one of the creators of StarFab, working hard to get it updated. He's going to do some awesome texture work to the Argo cap. So. The reason I didn't want to go past 270 meters on this Argo ship is I want it to be able to land in an extra large hangar. So that's why. That's why. So yeah, there we go. There it is next to a jet.
I think it was the reason I kind of went down that line of thinking though too is Ed has obviously walked into this at the end when we've kind of done what's the 3rd or 4th episode of this now. So we've seen it all the way along.
Yep.
But like even some of the things Ed's saying, like it's got Star Trek vibes. I love it. Like we all went through that. You think back to the first episodes where all the things we were putting in.
I'm a big Star Trek fan, so I really was excited to do a Star Trek focused ship. That was a big deal for me.
But again, like from other angles, it doesn't look like that. Like you go from the front and it looks like an Argo ship. Like what we were kind of going for, Ed, I think. Well, sorry if I'm putting words in your mouth here. Just tell me if I am, Rim. But the UFO that they had with the circular motif, we wanted to kind of put some circles into an Argo ship,
right?
So they could take a step towards making the UFO that they want to make.
Yeah, it was a bit.
Trying to do.
It was a bit of an exercise, you know. So, for example, let me turn the Javelin off here. But like, I'll zoom down to the UFO. You know, the UFO is something CIG showed in the video is I want to call it a failed concept, but a concept that just didn't get past the approval process, I guess. And you never know, they shelve it. But that's sort of what this is. It's my version of the the Argo UFO ship. Mine, I feel like I made. And no disrespect to CIG on this one at all, but I took a lot of cues from their design, especially the shape of these lines. But I also tried to do a version that I felt like CIG would actually end up doing versus the concept art, where it's a little bit more like got an interior. You
didn't make it as much of a pancake as they did.
Yeah, exactly. It's got a little bit more of a body.
Like again, it's a step between what they had and what. You know, you could see them doing that, like it was somewhere between the older design and the new design. And they need to do that because, again, as we said back when we did this, RSI's got that, Anvil's got that, and Anvil is younger than Argo, but the designs were circular motif.
Yeah, yeah. No problem, Ed. I mean, this is what this type of show is all about, where we're just exploring things. We like to talk about ships, and doing stuff like this sometimes is just a fun exercise. You know what I mean?
Not picking on you, Ed. You actually just kicked off a thought train. So you actually you helped. You
Yeah.
didn't hinder. If that's what you're
And as everyone knows in chat, I mean, you're welcome to disagree with certain design decisions we're making. I'm sure CIG, if they came in and did an actual review of this, could pick out 1,000 things that are wrong about this. Just from a shape language standpoint, there's probably some stuff with Argo specifically that we're not taking into account that we just don't know because it's internal design documents. So again, it's Hoon says capital ship in design phase, or is it just concept? This is just our fan-made concept, Hoons. This is just a fan-made concept. You never know. One day we might get brave and decide to do a basic interior layout. But yeah, that's what this is. So okay, so let's go back to this real quick, just keeping time in mind. We know we're going to do sort of a backwards view like this. I think we're feeling good about this, where it's going to be developing probably a Connie or something like that. We've got our drones in here, right, doing their thing, which feels good. You can see the UFO ship. I think in the background we'll have a planet that is creating some nice lighting scenarios. We also may be able to just, if we need additional structure, like in the far background or something, we could put like a space station, like, you know, either one of the ones that are in game, or it could even be just something like Starjump Station or something, which is like a custom one. Could be something like that in the background. And here's going back to what we were talking about, because we know which parts of the ship we're seeing in this primary concept. Oh, here's another thing, actually. We can also do something like this. Now, bear with me. But sometimes CIG does this where they will take the ship they're showing from one angle and then they'll duplicate it and they'll put it, you know, like maybe it's real small in the background, but it's back, you know, there's another one flying about. So imagine if you had one sort of like this way over here. Maybe it's flying this way, or maybe it's flying the opposite way or whatever, but it's meant to sort of give you that frontal view. There could be something like that. You know what I mean? I probably have it too close to the UFO, but you get what I'm saying. It's meant to just sort of show the ship off in another light. Like maybe it's down here flying the opposite direction.
It's so far back that it almost looks the same size as the UFO.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. Again, I'm probably violating a lot of rules here because and look, here's the thing. I do not work, just so everyone knows, I do not work in the key art industry. I work in the visual effects industry, so I do special effects for movies and film and TV and all that. I'm not a key art artist. People like Gavin Rothery and Ben Curtis and Paul Jones and all those people that we know and love, they're the key artists. They do really great stuff. By the way, they work in a program called Keyshot, which is really, really slick and does really nice key art. The only reason we're not doing this in key art is because key art is Keyshot. Keyshot is the software, but Keyshot is very, very expensive. So that's why.
A lot of niche software that is, unfortunately.
But we kind of have what's going on here. Now, the thing is because we know what angle we're looking at, I know that on this nacelle right here, again, since it's so big and bold in your face, I'm going to need to go in and draw like actual panel lines on this, probably do some riveting, get some nice detail work built into that. On this side, we need to start integrating some lighting elements along with the two on top of this backward facing observation bridge so that we can get interior lighting on this area here. We also know that our drones would probably have some sort of light source on the front of them, so they would be shining probably a little bit of a cone light. I also need to figure out is like all the little pin lights on the ship. Again, I don't have it up, but if you've ever seen the Polaris, you will know that it has all types of lights all over it that highlight certain areas of the ship. Generally, those are decals and or parts of the ship that are kind of important. So one thing I've noticed CIG will do is they'll, especially on the Polaris, is they'll light things like intakes and stuff like that that are critical parts of the ship. Ed says, talking about guns, where are the guns and turrets? That is something we haven't dealt with yet, but I did think we would get to it at some point. Now, one thing I was thinking about that is to just kind of be probably a little, because it's an industrial ship, I would honestly treat it very much like the Pioneer, where they just kind of slapped a couple on. They're not like we're not talking about turrets that are like highly integrated or anything like that. There's not torpedoes coming out of it. It would probably literally, like if you look back on this piece here, you see these areas, some of these flat areas. There'd probably just be some turret mounts there.
Yeah. I'm actually just kind of sitting here thinking, if you do this good enough, this content creator brain
Mhm,
here. Obviously, if he makes a good enough thumbnail, people, you just call it "What the hell is this ship?" and it will be clickbaity as hell.
Yeah,
People
and
are
then
like, oh, what's that?
and then everyone can use it to get a bunch of views and stuff.
Yeah.
Real quick, everyone. Again, I told you it'd be a little bit of a quick stream. We got more Argo Capital Ships episodes coming up, but I do plan on next Tuesdays being a longer episode where we kind of finish this thing. I'll do some work on it to get that lighting stuff done moving up to this. I also need to make this scene more optimized because currently it takes way too long to render, and I need to clean some stuff up and do some culling to make it render fast. Real quick, I do want to switch back here. We are at $8,550 raised for St. Jude. We are literally $7 short of 25,000 lifetime raise. You can see that right there. $7.
Everybody hold off
short.
on that $7.
We're holding off.
Hold off.
We're holding off on
Please.
that, but you know they won't.
Please hold off. I wish they would. Hold off until tonight if you can.
What's tonight?
I would be appreciative. I do a D&D stream tonight, and I would really like to at least be able to be on stream.
You know what you need to do? You've got to get a schedule up.
I do. I have mine, but
the
my schedule
me is really wanting to donate $8 now.
I would really I've worked hard for 3 years. I would appreciate if we can wait. If not, get it.
Although I would ask this: why is 30,000 not the lifetime goal?
Yeah, slacker.
We can keep going. But my goal this year was 25K, and we're
gonna go.
We're not even a month into this, and we're going way past that.
No, we need to blow past that goal. Hold off, everybody.
When we hit 25K, I'm going. So, $8,000. I think was my disgusting one. I think is the one where I'm eating a bunch of disgusting crap. Or is that 9K? I can't remember.
I can't remember.
How much was it to shave your head and shave off your beard?
So the beard is at 10K. I have no idea what we're going to do above that. Jesus.
You need to work on some milestones, my dude.
We've already worked it out. It's full body wax, eyebrows, everything. You're gonna look like an alien from I don't know, what's the Coneheads? Yeah, something like that. You look like one of the Coneheads. No eyebrows.
Oh yeah.
Real quick though, to keep an eye on my time because I have a meeting coming up on me real quick that I'm going to dive out for. Everyone, thank you so much for your generosity today. You're all amazing. Again, Ender will be doing a D&D stream tonight. Make sure you catch that. Thanks for watching Starjump Shipyard. I do have more content later this week, obviously. We're going to do Starjump Station this week. By the way, excuse if you want to be on that. It's an Invictus Leaks thing again. So I know we're talking about it on your show. So
yeah. No.
Also,
no, I'll do both. Both. That's fine.
Also, there we'll be interviewing Ender, Starjump Ender, who is the disembodied voice you're hearing right now. We'll be interviewing him on a kind of a new show that we're doing during the month of April, May, and again, this will probably be on Ender's channel sometimes. It'll be on my channel sometimes. It's kind of all over, but it's just going to call it Starjump Guardians, and we're going to focus on the charity effort. We're going to interview Ender, hear all about the St. Jude Play Live Summit that he just got back from. Had a great time from the looks of it, but it was very heartfelt, and we'll get a full download on that. And I think
bring some napkins. You're going to need them. I'm going to be crying.
Yeah. I just had a suggestion from chat, and I want a committal from both of you. If we get to 30,000 in this drive, so that's before the end of this drive, and what is about a month or so left?
Yep.
What is that? 30,000 total raised or 30,000?
30,000 lifetime funding raise, so another $5,000. You think you can do another $5,000?
Yeah.
That you guys will both do a full body wax. Body wax.
You know what?
I'm way too hairy.
Too bad. Exactly. Your wife will love it.
This is rough.
You want the money, you got to put it up. You got to put your money where your mouth is.
Yes. Ed Ramirez, thank you very much. Appreciate it. See
we'll
how I just
discuss this.
We're going to discuss this one. This is a tough one.
That's a no. They're backing out, Chad. They're backing out.
This is a discussion. It's a discussion.
No, there's no discussion. You make the call right now.
It's
I'm willing.
Put your money where your mouth is, boys. Come on.
I have to consider the divorce implications, though, that could occur because of this. My wife does not want to see me without a beard. That's the problem.
All right. Well, that's right. We'll buy a
yeah.
paper bag for it. It'll be fine.
Everyone, thank you again for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it today. Have a great rest of your day. I'm going to send you over to someone you probably know. We've rated them before. I think they've been on the Info Runners, if I'm not mistaken. Either way, I'm going to send you over to her. Going to send you over to Expat Brat. Make sure you give her some Starjump love and say hello.
She's been on many times.
Yep. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Appreciate it.